Hey Zook family, it's Friday night, and that means we get to meet yet another international DJ. This DJ is a very old friend of mine, but he's not just a friend, he's one of the most famous DJs in London and has DJed for everyone you can think of. Prince William, Pharrell Williams, Mark Ronson, you name it, Sam's done it. Sam, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Mate, it's been 6 years since I last saw your face.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the China White days in London.
Oh man, but you haven't aged one little bit. What have you been up to? Give people a bit of a background in Asia. We go out to Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, but we have viewership all over Asia. Tell Asia about Sam Young.
Oh wow. Well, we were named like Sam Young. You'd be amazed how many people sometimes when they meet me, they expect to meet an Asian person. You're Asian. No, my real name is Sammy, but when I was a teenager, I cut it down to Sam because I thought it was cooler. So yeah, I've been DJing for like over 20 years. Mainly, I'm born and raised in London, so this is where I started off, and this is my home. And some of the I DJed so many clubs in London over the last 20 years that have like come and gone, as you know. And obviously, like one of the highlights of that was the China White days, because China White back in the late 90s to like mid 2000s was like one of the most famous clubs in the world, and like people whoever would come to London would want to go to China White because they read about it and they saw all the celebrities falling out of that place on a Wednesday night or or the weekend. And also I was resident at a club called Bougie for like, I think I like to say it was 12. I say it was 13 years, but some people will say it's 12 years. But anyway, it was over a decade of being at Bougie. I wasn't there like all the time, but I was there like at least once a week. And for a while, that place was it was a very small boutique club in South Kensington, which doesn't usually, it's not an area known for having nightclubs or anything, but it was kind of like that area in between the West End and Chelsea. So it was a cool club, and I was there for a long time. Again, that was a place where we had loads of great parties for the likes of Lady Gaga to Usher, the Pete Tongs and the Rick Rosses of the world. But yeah, and also apart from DJing clubs, when I was very very young, I realized from my father's a photographer, and he'd always go and do these very high-end events. And I'd always ask him, do they have DJs at these parties? And he'd be like, yeah, they do. And I'd be like, oh, cool. And so slowly, I got into the world of like DJing, like film premieres and other things. But then I realized there was like the high-end wedding end of the scale was like, that was like the Hollywood of events. That's where the real money is made if you're like doing what I do. So over the years, I got DJing lots of weddings for I DJ'd in 2014. I did George Clooney's wedding. Last March, it was March, April, I did Idris Elba's wedding in Marrakesh. Jessica Chastain, the actress, I did her wedding. Bastian Schweinsteiger, like the list goes on and on.
Hey Sam, you've had a glittering career. You throw me back to where we first met China White, thanks to the likes of the club legends, John Stevens, Jeremy Hartley, then Jake Parkinson Smith at Bougie's. Great guys, great club legends from London. But you also, for the people who are based in Asia, they wouldn't know necessarily, there's a circuit, and you've done Cannes Film Festival, you've done Monaco Grand Prix. Where are some of the highlights that you've played over the years? The Cannes Film Festival was always a fun one because it was never really directly for Cannes themselves. It was like the clubs from London, because they were so well renowned. They would go and do these parties. It's like 1-2 night parties in the south of France. And then also, luckily enough, I had a friend of mine who was working for Red Bull. So for a few years, I would be going down to Monaco to DJ for the Red Bull station. And that was just fascinating because they had the best location. You're right on the water. You got this amazing view of Monaco behind you. And like obviously on the race day, the night before the race, they do the night of the race, they do like a massive party as well. So you got like all the press there from the world. You got all the racing teams.
You know, it's Monaco, so it's like it's very fabulous, and you've got all the major yachts and the boats, and yeah, it's great fun. It's great fun.
So Sam, you also toured America, because
Yeah.
you don't just play the commercial music, which is more London, but you do more of your own sound, which I think you did it with Scam Artists over in America. You've done tours and stuff.
No. The way what happened with that was, I think I was a bit ahead of my time when I first toured America. So basically, like in 2007 and 2008, I'd go to Miami with my family just to go on holiday. Obviously, because I had quite good links with some American DJs. I hooked up with this guy called DJ Irie. He's the DJ for the Miami Heat. So I'd be going to Miami, and then, you know, me and Irie hit it off, and this other guy, Mr. Sandman, and they you know, bring me in to DJ these parties with them in Miami. So I got linked up with all like the main promoters there and stuff, and we'd be doing like all these very cool parties at clubs like Mansion, the hotel called the Delano, which used to be really cool, and there were some other clubs there. God, Miami's a bit like London. The clubs come and go. You just forget the names of them. And then from being in Miami and you know, being cool with these guys, I got approached by his agent who owned Scam Artists. So this was 2009 that I joined Scam. And in 2010 till about 2013, I'll be going to America to tour the USA. So during the midst of me touring the USA is when Prince William got married. And because Prince William would attend Bougie, and it'd been written about in interviews with me, the press around the world thought I was going to DJ Prince William's wedding. And they would not take no for an answer. They thought I was lying. They thought I was just, you know, obviously they thought I had signed an NDA and I couldn't talk about it. But the actual fact of it is, on the day that Prince William got married, I was DJing, I think it was Tao Beach Club in Vegas. I remember doing that gig and being in the airport and watching it on the screens in Vegas of the whole wedding ceremony. I had to fly, you know, I had to fly somewhere else to do a gig. And yeah, so the Scam days were great. I think I was like the first DJ from London to play Live Miami in 2010, before the whole EDM boom. And I remember playing there and playing in London, we were very used to playing, you know, around the world. Eventually got called open format and whatever, you know, where you're playing a mixture of like, you know, like house music and hip hop and R&B and whatever else. And I remember playing Live and playing all that early like Major Lazer stuff mixed up with like all the hip hop that was big at the time, and like all the good old David Guetta records and stuff. And people never really, I don't think people had really heard someone do it like that, because I mean, back then America was a bit behind when it comes to like EDM and electronic music. Because I always no disrespect to Asia and America, but I always feel like Europe is always at the forefront of music. You know, we set the trend, and usually everyone else kind of jumps on it a bit later. You know, like even now is a good example. Like, you know, no clubs really in England now would be playing like EDM or big room music, but I know it's still huge in Asia, which is absolutely great. But, you know, I know there's a scene out there and they love it. But, you know, usually, you know, people follow what the UK and like, you know, Berlin and stuff do, you know. So
Sam, what's next for you? Obviously it's been a tricky 2020 for everyone, but what's on the horizon for your next project?
Well, since 2 years ago, I've been running my own record label called Wildcard. So I have two, apart from Wildcard, I have two aliases of my own. One is Vanilla Ace and one is Sammy Deuce. So with Vanilla Ace, I started that in 2012, and that's taken me all over the world. I mean, I've had Beatport #1s with that alias. I've been signed to major labels like Tour Room and like CR2, Swara, Bunny Tiger, so like Club Sweat, just to name a few. And I mean with Vanilla Ace, I went to Brazil over 20 times. That's kind of why around 2013 I kind of stepped out of the West End, because the Vanilla Ace thing literally took over my life. Like kind of the tracks I was making, like when Deep House, you know, Deep House had that little boom in like 2013, 14. And so the Vanilla Ace thing really took over my life. And I mean, I still do gigs with it to this day. I mean, not now, but obviously before
pre-COVID, I was still touring America and doing gigs with it. And but the record label, the Wildcard label, is doing really well. Like the last 2 releases have like gone into like the top 100 or like Tech House, Beatport, and it's just nice to nurture new talent and sign all these new guys I'm finding, and like pushing them out, and it's good. I've always had a good ear. I think, as most DJs will tell you, they have a good ear for music, and they like finding the next thing. So it's like almost like a natural step to have a record label.
Well, congratulations with that. I mean, Vanilla Ace was already going off before I left the UK, for sure. I know it well. But so you're going to do a mix for us. What will be inside the mix? What's your music of choice?
I'm still debating, but I think I'm going to have to do like a typical open format set where it'll probably be like a mixture of like house and hip hop and R&B and whatever else I feel will go with the flow.
But bro, please put in some old school for some of us who are now creeping towards our 40s.
Yeah, I'll definitely I'll mix it up, and we'll see what happens.
When was the last time you played in Asia?
When the last time I played in Asia? It's a good question. I think it was a Vanilla Ace gig in Thailand. I think I did a few Vanilla Ace gigs. I did play in Singapore once. What's that bar that's on top of that very famous hotel?
C'est Vie on Marina Bay Sands.
Yeah, I played there. I think that was like 2015, 16. I did Thailand. I did Bangkok. I did Shanghai. I did Hong Kong. Yeah, I did Hong Kong, and I did Bali. Sorry, it's all coming back to me now. Yeah. But Hong Kong was a good one, actually. The first time I went to Hong Kong was actually with Bougie. When they opened a club there. I did the opening week. And it was funny enough, the place where Bougie is the same venue where I played with Vanilla Ace a couple of years, I think it was like 2 years ago. It was the same venue, but they just obviously changed the name. But I was like, they're like, yeah, it used to be Bougie. And I was like, it's crazy. That goes to show you that like the nightlife space in Hong Kong is very limited.
Yeah, mate, it's the cycle and carriage of all these venues.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, we really hope to bring you out to Malaysia next year. It'll be 2021 before I think we're back to normal, but it'll be great. It'll be a blast from the past.
Yeah, no, I've heard amazing things. And I remember when I got in touch with you, because I was on a plane. I was on a plane to do a gig, and I was reading the magazine, and you came up, and I was like, oh my god! Because we haven't spoken for a while, and then I didn't know where you were working. Then I saw this whole article, and I was like, wow! I was very proud.
Well, mate, it was phenomenal to hear from you. It's phenomenal to chat to you now, and it throws me back to the good old days. I mean, I talk about 2008, 2009, as I say, John, Jeremy, Jake, Luke, all those guys that we used to knock around with, and we had some great nights. And you and I threw the very last night, a party on the very last night. I still got the flyer with our names on it for China White. Yeah.
Oh, did we do that last night? Wow. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that place was legendary. I mean, absolutely legendary. Even though, even after when it turned into like the Libertine China White venue, I mean, I had some great years there as well. Especially, I think the peak year for me there was when we had the Olympics here. They had loads of the Olympics after parties. It was a lot of fun, and you had like a very international like crowd coming in.
I remember in my first year alone, we had Ja Rule.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Justin Timberlake, and then at the Cartier International Polo, China White Tent, Leo DiCaprio, Bradley Cooper. I mean, it was, and you DJ with Mark Ronson on that occasion.
Yeah, and Axwell.
And Axwell, wow, what a blast!
And then we had it was 2 years in a row. They had Axwell and they had the Pete Tong one, and but those China White polo parties, that was like a staple in the calendar for anyone. That was like if you didn't go to that party, you missed out big time.
Yeah, and I remember that my very first year, I couldn't believe how much my phone went. People begging me for wristbands. It was. That was a hot ticket back then. Like if you weren't going to that party, you were massively missing out. It was just basically a massive daytime rave. Yeah.
Just had to dress up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Sam, I've really enjoyed catching up, and I thank you so much for taking part. And we're going to be in touch, and we're going to bring you out to Malaysia.
Yeah, no,
will it be your first gig in Malaysia?
I think no. Maybe I'm not sure. I mean, I did do that one gig in Singapore, but no, but it'd be the first time. No, but I've heard so many good things about the club, and I've read about it for the whole your company and what you guys do. I read about it many times, so I definitely look forward to it.
Well, Sam, this has been a huge pleasure. I've really enjoyed myself, and
for asking me.
I can't wait for your mix.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, my friend.
Bye, man. Take care. Bye-bye.